Vlog on a blog. Tomorrow's news today. Get to the truth. Listen, learn, live. Visit us at yahowah.com.
Well, welcome to today's episode on the vlog on the vlog. It's good to be with Will as our co-host today. We're starting with a picture of a map of the Russian Empire in the 19th century. And the reason we have it up is to show a couple of things. One is that communism was not very good for Russia, was it? For all those little Marxists out there that are touting you, yay, go, comrade. Under the Tsars, that was a pretty formidable empire. And when the Bolsheviks came about and communism was installed, boy, it didn't expand. It began to shrink. Now, the other thing that's interesting here, of course, is Ukraine. You know, Ukraine makes this a big deal that they are an independent country and Russia invaded them. That's just not true. In fact, you look at the Russian Empire, Ukraine was all part of it, and all of the Baltic countries surrounding it, they were all part of the Russian Empire, and they were even part of the Soviet Union. And you know, if you go back into the Tsarist period of Russia, Ukraine was the size of a dime, and it was just a small circle around Kyiv, and it was gradually expanded not as an independent country, just as a state or province within the Russian Empire and then within the Soviet Union. But it's this footprint that it's claiming as its sovereign territory is just utter nonsense. It's just one of many lies that prevail because people have never come to understand the purpose of a map.
Yeah, lines on a map.
And a little history.
All it is. It's because it is so more complicated with the genetics or the cultures that are involved in there. You know, I mean, it was the same thing with the Rwanda, the Hutsis and the Tutsis. You know, yes. I mean, there's no difference in them culturally, genetically, whatsoever, and the British come in, separate, and say, okay, now you're a Hutsi and you're a Tutsi, and then years later they want to kill each other, right?
They want to kill each other.
Because of some imagined, yeah,
we want to divide things up until there's a group of people that don't want to divide them up anymore. And of course, in the case of the Ukraine war, the bottom line is Ukrainians were bribed by the United States, going all the way back to the Bush administration, with the primary bribers being Victoria Nuland, John McCain, and Lindsey Graham. Fortunately, two of them are dead. The other one will pass away hopefully soon. But they are the architects of the regime change in Ukraine that started killing ethnic Russians in the eastern part of what broke away. But you know, these nations that broke away, they just said when the USSR imploded, they just said, we don't want to be part of the Russian Federation. We want to have our own little world so we can be king of our own little world. And when you consider why the Soviet Union fell, you want to puke, because it's the United States that caused the fall of the Soviet Union. You'd say, well, isn't that good? Good for us. Yeah, we did that. Well, no, because the way we did it was through another proxy. Just like the U.S. is using Ukrainians to go kill Russians now, we rented the Taliban from Pakistan, made Pakistan into a more formidable enemy of the world, and made the Taliban something that it was never intended to be. And so we gave all manner of Stinger missiles and bombs and rifles and you name it to the Taliban, rented them from Pakistan, and used them to go off and kill Russians in Afghanistan. It was Zbigniew Brzezinski's harebrained idea. And of course, what it created was Al-Qaeda, because the US CIA needed to recruit more jihadists than the Taliban could supply. And the database is called Al-Qaeda, the base. And so the United States is wholly and completely guilty of having created Al-Qaeda, which brought down the two towers in New York and bombed the Pentagon, was such a vicious terrorist organization. It was created by the CIA and their desire to destroy the Soviet Union. So, you know, you want to know the history. The history is deplorable. The United States is the most deplorable country on earth. And it's just sick what we have done and the pain that we have brought upon the world.
Mm.
Yeah, they were just picking at the edges too. I mean, because you look at what they tried to do in Yugoslavia with the uprisings with workers
Destroyed
and stuff like that.
Turned that into 8 countries. Between Czechoslovakia and Yugoslavia, what a mess we made. And then when Bill Clinton was trying to deflect attention away from the Monica Lewinsky affair, they started bombing Kosovo. I mean, who in the hell do we think we are?
Yeah.
Murderer's row of the world.
Yeah.
All right. So these are funny. These are funny. You've got the Donald Trump in the dumpster. I like that one. And the dumpster memes. For those who don't know what this is all about, Donald Bone Spur Trump was leaving the Ankara NATO conference, the one where he praised Erdogan as the great messiah of the world and his BFF, and met with Jolani again, and then condemned NATO. I mean, the one he was just all over the board. It was a psychotic episode. Anyway, he had flown his new Air Force One, which we have not seen since that time, into Ankara. Evidently, the CIA received some kind of a tip that the Iranians were going to blow that Air Force One out of the sky. So what they decided to do is they brought up a food catering cart to Air Force One after Trump and everybody else had boarded. And they only took Trump off, which means they left everybody else. If the plot was real, everybody else they left on that to die. And they only took the scum off in a food cart, and they then escorted that food cart to the old Air Force One that they had flown in case the new Air Force One had a hiccup. And so they flew Trump out in the old Air Force One, where they left everybody else on the new one to go ahead and die if the threat was real. So they wheeled him off in a food cart. You just can't make this stuff up.
Right. It would have been so much better if the food cart had like wheels with eyes on it that were flaming, and the whole.
Oh yeah, a little cart with flaming wheels on the cart. It would have fit the narrative that's in the prophets. Yeah, what a scum. Yeah, this is an interesting situation here. This is the Bush legacy, the plague of Islam, which fundamentally changed the world and made the next Holocaust inevitable. Based upon lies, he invaded Afghanistan and then Iraq, neither one of which had anything to do with 9/11. Neither one of which were bases for the perpetrators of 9/11. Not a single 9/11 terrorist came from either of those two countries. And then he lied about the presence of Al-Qaeda in Iraq and then Iraq having weapons of mass destruction. It was all a complete and utter lie. And George Bush then, by invading these two countries, not only led to the deaths of 10,000 Americans, and 5 times that number if you consider the suicides thereafter, but he killed 1 million people. Yeah. And that's not even the worst of it. The worst of it is he caused great migration of Muslims from Iraq, from Syria, from Afghanistan, and from Libya into Europe and the United States, where they have fundamentally changed the demographics of those countries, and they brought the plague with them. Look, Somalia, Yemen, all of these places, they migrated to Europe and the United States and Canada, and they destroyed those countries. They brought the plague with them.
Yeah, they got involved in politics,
Yeah.
and they started influencing those countries. Look at Western Europe, the U.S.
Yes. Yeah, it's despicable, and it's the plague of George Bush. It's his legacy. It will always stain his rotten soul.
Yeah, now let me
I
ask you a
never
question. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was
Will.
going to say,
No, go ahead, Will.
do you feel that this was, part of a plan, this massive demographic shift? Because it really is an incredibly effective strategy to bring down the West. Or is this just a natural result of idiotic wars, and that this was just some sort of pause?
Standard U.S. CIA behavior. You push for regime change in Libya, which was stunningly counterproductive. Regime change in Iraq, stunningly counterproductive. Regime change in Iran, hugely unproductive. Regime change in Yemen and Somalia and the Sudan, ineffective. And regime change when you created the regime in Afghanistan. Well, the fact is, you also created the regime that you replaced in Iraq, and you created the regime that you replaced in Iran. So it is. It's just the unintended consequences of America's CIA and military complex and moronic politicians constantly doing things that they have no concept of what the consequences of them having done it. I mean, we've witnessed it with the second Iran war with Trump. He had no idea of the consequence of his actions. And now that they exist, there is no remedy for them. The same thing was true with George W. Bush. He lied to get us into a war because he told me personally he wanted to be a wartime president. And so he got us into his war, and there was no way out of that war. Well, we still have troops in Iraq, and we destroyed Afghanistan. And it was obvious that we were doing it. I did 10,000 radio shows telling the world how stupid this was and how counterproductive it was at a time everybody else was applauding it. But no, it's not the function of them strategically trying to bring down the West. It's a function of them being terminally stupid.
Consequence, yeah.
And terminally stupid, to add on to that, one of the unintended consequences of these places that we go muck around in is the brain drain that takes place, because we have a tendency to go someplace, bomb, start a war, and then as the war's going on, the top of that society, doctors, the most intelligent, want to flee. And where do they go? They come to the United States. I mean, Koreans, Vietnamese, you look all across, that's how these...
And then poverty and everything else infects those countries, and millions more die.
Absolutely.
The U.S. is the most murderous country on earth and has been for a very long time.
It so confused me. I mean, it just didn't make sense when 9/11 happened. We had so many Eastern Europeans and folks that were coming to the United States on K-1 visas, on student visas and stuff, and overstaying, and they were good, productive people. Okay, and then 9/11 happens. All that stops. I mean, no one comes in and then all of a sudden we have this massive third world Muslim migration that doesn't help anybody.
Just terrible. And of course, those Muslims couldn't flee to any other Islamic country.
Right. Yeah.
And the first thing they did when they got here is they announced that they were still Muslims. The very thing they fled in their countries, they were still Muslims, and they were going to work to take over the host country, and brought the curse of Islam with them. Yeah, this is a real tragedy. It's the Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey that just signed a bill that legalizes abortion all the way up to childbirth. Now, a end of third trimester infant is a fully viable human. I mean, this is absolute murder. I mean, I'm both free, pro-choice and pro-life, and as such, I recognize that there is a point where a woman has a influence over her own body, although she should have had some influence in her own body and kept her legs closed. when that time came. So she has forfeited the right to have control over the consequence of her not having control over her own body. So I think that's a part that needs to be understood. You didn't have control over your own body. And so as a result, you now want control over what the consequence of that is. And that's not reasonable. But in the first trimester, when the fetus is not viable outside of the womb, it's hard to argue that so long as that individual is willing to pay for their abortion, that they should be able to have an abortion in the first trimester. Forcing society to pay for their contraception is ridiculous. That's grossly immoral and unfair. Now, after the first trimester, then in the second trimester, it's because of the viability of the infant, it's just way too messy to tread in that area. And the third trimester, which is what the governor of Massachusetts just passed as signed off as a law, it's flat out murder. She is a mass murderer now. It's flat out murder. And if you're a woman and you're celebrating this, go to hell. You do not deserve the title female under those circumstances. You've lost total capacity to understand what it is to be a woman. You're a killer.
Yeah. Yeah, when they signed the bill, they were all applauding and high-fiving as if they had just really made some impressive moral breakthrough on behalf of women. It's just
it's like the guards of the Gestapo and SS guards at Auschwitz applauding the gas chambers. That's about the level of the ghoulishness of what they just did. It's ghoulish.
Mm-hmm.
And completely unnecessary, because the vast preponderance, I mean, this organization, because it is an organization that does this, Planned Parenthood, right? This is, I mean, there's some people that can go to a doctor, but the vast preponderance of them come out of this Planned Parenthood, and it is just absolutely birth control. It is these one-offs that, I mean, how many babies like this that at 28 weeks do you think are killed in a year? You know, less than 100.
Just because you're too effing stupid or lazy to use a form of contraception.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to have taxpayers pay for murder because you're too lazy or immoral to use contraception, or just too irresponsible as a person. So no, you don't get to kill a child because you were stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Abortion is like inner city birth control. The vast majority of abortions are sadly Black women in the inner city using it as a form of contraception.
Yeah, I know. It's sad.
That's what Margaret Sanger wanted.
Yeah.
Correct. Mm-hmm. That's right.
Yeah, we should just listen to a bit of this. He dumbs it down now to a third grader, so I guess he's trying to overcome my criticism that he's exciting is your grandmother's bathroom wallpaper. But nevertheless, he does have a point here, which is that there is a 0% possibility that Trump is going to prevail to get the Straits of Hormuz open and out of Iranian control. And he explains the reason why in this little video.
Now, between now and the midterms, the odds of, I think, opening Hormuz are infinitesimal, so small as to be zero. And why is that? It's because the Shahed drone, the 136 Shahed drone, which is the prime tool that Iran is using to close Hormuz, it's about the size of a king-size mattress. It is relatively cheap. It's made with components a lot like cell phone components right here. And it is has a range of between 500 and 1,200 miles. That Shahed drone could be anywhere in a 500-mile by 500-mile drone launch zone along the coast of Iran, with Hormuz at the midpoint, and then still hit that ship. So that's 500 miles by 500 miles, 1.5 times the size of California. That's a two-dimensional scale problem, but it's worse than that, Cyrus, because...
What's that?
Go ahead. Not just the width of California, not the length of California. California is more than 500 miles long top to bottom,
yeah.
but it's 250 miles wide, less than 250 miles wide. So what he's saying is that if you take the entire Strait of California and then you add, Nevada to it, or Arizona to it, Utah to it, that is what you're dealing with in terms of the geography that you would have to rid of these drones that are, produced in the tens of thousands. If you wanted the Strait of Hormuz to be open and safe passage where ships could reliably go through. And then what
That's
he's
at
going
minimum
to
range.
the rest of it you don't have
Because
to
he
listen
says
to. The rest of
500
it,
to
what he
1200.
basically says is that the Zaros Mountains border all of that, and the Zaros Mountains are quite formidable. And it's like having he's going to compare it to the Empire State Building, but he says 10 Empire State Buildings put on top of each other, and you don't know if it's in the basement, the first floor, or the penthouse. And you've got 10 of these, and then you've got 10,000 of them lined up with all of that height. There is a zero possibility that you could find them or remove them, and they line the entire Strait of Hormuz. So this idea that the U.S. military has the capacity to rid the Iranians of that Shahed drone is zero. So long as Trump fails to surrender and give the Iranians what they're demanding, the Strait of Hormuz will be closed. And only when he gives them what they're demanding, the Strait of Hormuz will be a pay-for-play ferry place where you'll have to pay a considerable fee for passage under Iranian control, and that's the way it's going to stay forever. He made a mess, and there's no way to fix it.
Yeah, he says 500 to 1,200 miles. I mean, 1,200 miles is the other side of Iran. I mean,
that's right. Halfway across from a geography point of view, it'd be halfway across the United States, and in terms of the length of it, it would be very equivalent to the north to south height of the United States. You'd have to remove all of the drones from all of that, and they're dug into rock caverns. It's ludicrous. That's why the military is saying there's no purpose of us continuing to bomb. There's nothing we can accomplish. Your war goals cannot be achieved. We lost, and let's deal with it.
Declare victory and leave. That's all that's left.
Yeah, that's right.
That is what he wants to do now. Except he can't do that because the Iranians are still, that 14-point memorandum of understanding that you signed. All of those points have to be honored. And if you're not willing to honor them, then you can leave. That's just fine. But we're not going to back the way things were. Now, the big thing now in the United States is to say, okay, so we lost the military war, but the Secretary of the Treasury, he won the economic war. He has bankrupt Iran. Yeah.
So we'll put lipstick on this pig. It looks just great now.
I know. MAGA is just delusional. They'll believe anything. All right. What do we got next? Oh, it's the same thing. But that animated one was so clever that I wanted to show that one. But this is, they like in the White House images, they'll show Trump as a general standing between Patton and MacArthur. And here he is.
Yeah.
And the food.
This is more like it.
Thing. And he leaves everybody. All of his staff, the press corps, all of his supporters, he left all of them in the Air Force One that he was told was going to be blown out of the sky. That's what kind of a scum you're dealing with here.
This was interesting.
Yeah, this is interesting. You've got some things I think that are really powerful too. You see down there in that script that they've highlighted, one of the is the LF, and you can see the LF drawn as the yoke over a pointed nose would be a ram, but that the horns and the yoke are clearly a bull. But you can see the old form of the letter there. The one that's got the these kind of things, that's the replacement for the yod as they went forward. Yeah. So you can see the triangles are the replacement for the Dalet and Dalet and Dod's name. But you can see the writing there. So this is 9th century.
The bait is a little bit different as well. You can see that.
Yes.
That first letter on the second row there, that's a bait.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So what it's doing is it's showing a evolution of the script from the original Paleo Hebrew that we're using, the Yada Torah font, and then there was an intermediate font, and then they went to a more squared off font with the Babylonian influence. But
like the second
anyway,
generation.
8th century, they're writing about Israel. The king of Israel of Dod being a king of Israel, about the House of Dowd in Hebrew, using the Hebrew alphabet from the 8th century, which is 1,400 years before Islam even existed. That was well before any Arab ever set foot in that part of the world. So this notion that the Jews are the colonizers of Israel is so moronic. It's only possible for a Marxist or a Muslim to believe it or promote it. If you're promoting that, then you're as dumb as a stone. You're dumber than the rock that they wrote this on.
How in the world, I got to scroll up just a hair so you guys can see it. Do we go from Malika Yisrael, king of Israel, okay, Bayet, which we're cool with, David, House of David, when it's a Wah, it's very clearly Dalet, Wah, Dalet.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, Kevin. How do you get?
And over.
I keep on saying that that when Jews think that they haven't corrupted their language, I'd say, well, there's no Jew in your language. There's actually no Hebrew. It's Ibri. It doesn't begin with an H. You screwed everything up in your language. I mean, you messed it all up. And a lot of it, you can blame the Masoretes and the rabbis for changing the letters. But when I get, some fancy pants Jew will claim, oh, your transliterations are old and they're not in keeping with what we're using now. That's because you screwed up your language.
That's the point.
That's the point. I want to be set apart from in keeping with you.
Yes, I'm representing the alphabet and the language as it was written. You are a corruption of it. So if I want to go back to the truth, I can't accept your corruption of the language, and that's what they have done. And every time they see something like this, it's a real shame that they don't recognize how badly they have corrupted their own language.
Tuvra instead of Torah? How would we say that?
Yeah, I know.
Tuvra?
Yes.
Yeah.
What is shalom without the wall?
Shalom. Yes.
Yes.
Shalom. Yes. Oh, it's
pathetic. Oh. Yeah, so now they're complaining, oh, woe is me. How could all of those Russian lickers allow the North Koreans to send a missile into Kyiv? Oh, woe is we, and they're so mean. And okay, you were bribed to go kill Russians. You accepted the bribe to go kill Russians. Turns out the Russians didn't like you killing Russians. And so this is a consequence. So you accept the bribe, you got to deal with the consequence. Welcome to the consequence. Don't cry.
You have nerve logging that complaint, quite frankly.
Oh, God, it's just repulsive. And then they sanctioned Russia so that Russia could do business with 5 or 10 countries around the world. And when Russia does business with a country they don't want them to do business with because we sanctioned them into that, they cry over that too. It's a consequence of what you've done.
Yeah. And they're hypocrites about it anyway. How much Russian oil is coming into this island?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's disgusting. The whole thing is a bag of political hypocrisy and propaganda here on X.
And it just shows the little bit of geopolitical spillage that we're having. I mean, the fact that North Korea gets into this at all, it's just spilling outside the borders of
if America hadn't attacked Iran, then there'd be no reason to have North Korea involved. And had America not attacked Russia, then you would have a 0% chance that they would have been involved. But they are involved now because of the fact that America did this thing. It's a cause and consequence. Yeah. So you may be all thrilled that you killed the Ayatollah, and you maimed his son, and you killed his son's daughter, and you killed his son's wife. You may be all, oh boy, that gives you great satisfaction. Yeah. And guess what you did? You killed Israel at the same time. That's what you did. When you make bad situations worse, it's ubiquitous around the world. The leaders of the world are incapable of recognizing the consequences of their actions. You did this thing, and you made the world far worse off because of it. And you put yourself in a position that you can't recover from. Celebrate it all you want. All it does is make you look less human. And that's a poster that was probably the one poster, that particular fellow. Of all of the pro-Israeli accounts, Daniel, he was the most responsive of all pro-Israeli accounts, and he still didn't get it.
No, I remember him. Yep, Daniel.
Yeah, I liked him. He was the best. He was the best of a bad lot.
So many of those guys, Yada, if you remember, they would show promise and great hope, and then as you got into it, they were like Teflon. You couldn't penetrate. They just wouldn't. They're looking for friends like the day is long Jews on X, right? So they'll accept your friendship and whatever, but you can never get through to them.
No, they're as tough as the stone that the inscriptions were written on. That's what Yahowah says about them, and they haven't changed. I wish it were different. We're dedicated to trying to awaken them. Well, that's the toughest job in the history of jobs. All right, so this is the new super alliance. This is Muslim NATO. So of course you got Trump. They're exactly the opposite. They're have nothing to do with Trump. But anyway, it's Erdogan, MBS, and Pakistan. There. Now, in Pakistan, the prime minister of Pakistan actually has no influence. He's just a puppet. So you talk about puppets. He is a puppet of it's a military state. Erdogan is not an elected leader. He is a ruthless dictator. And the guy in the middle, MBS, is a psychopath. And he's a psychopath right now that's cowering in a hole because he is, with all of the money that he has spent on military equipment, he can't defend his country. And right now, the Houthis are taking it to him. So here they form this Islamic NATO. And the first thing that happens is the Houthis. The Houthis, you gotta love the Houthis. If nothing else, they're entertaining. The Houthis went and bombed Saudi Arabia just after this was formed and said, "Okay, now what are you going to do? You think that you're going to find Turkish warplanes that are going to be screaming down over Israel and down the Red Sea to bomb the Houthis?" America tried with a whole U.S. battle group and an aircraft carrier, and America failed miserably. So you think that the Turks are going to go do that now, or do you think that Pakistanis are going to nuke them since they have nuclear bombs? Or maybe it's going to be Saudi Arabia that wakes up and says, "Boy, we've got a military. We'll tackle them too." Which one do you think of these goons is going to respond? Because what the treaty says is an attack on one is an attack on all. So the Houthis attacked Saudi Arabia. Now what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Put up or shut up.
Yeah, it is a direct message to the people of Saudi Arabia, because the Houthis want to spread their brand of Islam, and they just want the people of Saudi Arabia to rise up and kick these kings, these sods
Royals,
out, right? And take over their
Right. The
brand
fact of the matter
Islam.
is that everybody thinks that their brand of Islam is the best brand of Islam. Saudi Arabia is run by the Wahhab, which are fundamentalist Sunnis, and the Houthis are fundamentalist Shia. So and Turkey, they're not fundamentalist anything. Other than they are Muslims, and Erdogan is their guy. So the whole thing is just a cauldron of evil.
Put up or shut up. That's what they said. Yep.
Yeah, put up or shut up. Oh yeah, here we go. Yeah, the Netherlands, which is where the Hague is, and the International Criminal Court and all that sort of thing. And here is the Netherlands, who preaches to everybody how moral they are and how criminal everybody else is. And he's here smiling and shaking hands with the leader of the Islamic State, who burnt little girls alive, gang raped little girls, crucified men. I mean, this is one of the most ruthless terrorists on the planet. And the hypocrites in Netherlands are smiling and shaking his hand.
Man, a suit and tie goes a long way, doesn't it?
Yeah, right.
Well, yeah. What is Yahowah's quote? I regret creating man.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I regret creating man. Oh, here's another Israeli post, and it says, the Iranian government is evil and has been since 1979. So there, Mr. Israel official. May I ask, who empowered them then in 1979, and who empowered them now to have control over the straits? Wasn't it Jimmy Carter, the peanut farmer, that brought in the Ayatollah and ousted the Shah?
Oh, didn't support the Shah. Yeah.
Yeah, and wasn't it now your two attacks with the United States against Iran that closed the straits? So aren't the United States and Israel responsible for this mess? Israel?
Yep.
Officially? So this is this is it with all of these maneuvering here. This is the old food cart caper. I'm sure that Hollywood would love to have some movie rights on all of this. Yep, there it is, the food cart caper. There's the dumpster. And by the way, this isn't even a real picture, and he didn't come off this way. Yeah, there he is now. Okay, so they're bringing up the food truck. All that, this walkway to it didn't exist like that. They brought up the cart. There's actually pictures of it. They brought up the cart right to it, but they did escort the food container to the other airplane. Don't be looking. We got our lights dimmed.
Right.
Yeah, he's. And they didn't put him in a regular airplane. They put him in the old Air Force One, and you don't have airplanes don't take off on taxiways. But all right.
The fact that this was even necessary, is what blows
or that
my
AI
mind.
would do that bad a job. That whether they were using the Grok AI or which one, but it's just pathetic how ignorant and incompetent the AIs are. The AI has just destroyed social media, and it's just pathetic how stupid the AIs are. I mean, regularly now I'm looking for just quick evidences. I don't want to post something and not have a recap of what's real, and so I'll put something as a question to one of the AIs, and almost universally I'll get a bogus answer. And then but there's a follow-up position with the AI where you can say, why didn't you consider this? And why did you give me the wrong answer? And they will always apologize. The second time, your point is correct. We should not have given you that answer, and your information is accurate.
Just crazy anecdotal. I was listening to a story from a buddy of mine, and he said, I woke up late, I missed the score of the Cardinals game, so I just figured I'd type AI and say, hey, who won the home run derby? And it told him some other guy's name, and so he walked around the whole day thinking that this guy and talking to people, hey, did you see the home run derby last night, or whatever, the All-Star? He's like, and he was just aghast. He said, AI lied to me. He was aghast when he was
deliberately.
It lied to me.
Yeah, deliberately. Yeah, I catch it every day, 2 or 3 times a day, where the AI deliberately lies to you, and then when you catch it, it apologizes for lying.
Mm-hmm.
Never accept the first response.
No, never.
Yeah.
From AI.
Well, AI sounds pretty
The
moral,
fact
at least.
that they want to try to sell this.
Oh, it apologizes for being wrong. Thank you. I'm going to lie to you straight out, and then when you catch me in the lie, I will admit that I've lied.
Yeah, like a 5-year-old, right?
I was going to say,
It's kind of like a 5-year-old. Yeah, it's like you go to a store and you steal something, you get caught, and you say I'm sorry, and you expect it to all go away. You rob a bank and you say I'm sorry. Sorry.
Okay, I'll give it all back. So we're all good now.
You still go to jail. Yeah.
Yeah. The fact that they want to make this seem like some sort of Ocean's 11 operation is what is absolutely comical about it. They wheeled the guy
they've got
out
the Israeli flag here, of course.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, the warning turned out to be false. Oh, by the way, the food cart caper. All right, so this is Trump wanting to play golf. There are about 30 golf carts here, plus who knows how many presidential limousines. Plus, those are anti-missile defense systems there. Those things in the far background. There's actually a picture of them, and I didn't post it, but one clear up there. But he's playing 20 feet along. Well, yeah, it's not a THAAD, but that kind of thing. And so they have interceptor systems for missiles surrounding him, and he's out playing golf with 30 carts filled with Secret Service members and U.S. military, and I'm like, what? Can you imagine that life? You'd be, you're Satan and you're afraid of your own shadow. How could you be Satan and afraid of your own shadow? I've been doing this now for a quarter century. I began by exposing and condemning Islam. I did 10,000 interviews under my own name. I wrote the book Prophet of Doom under my own name. I received thousands and thousands of death threats, and I've never ducked once. And here's this piece of shit that's afraid of his own shadow.
Mm-hmm.
And he partnered with the adversary. You took on the adversary.
I took on the adversary. He's partnered with him. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is really funny. Thoughtful post of the Trump tush talkers. Imagine a government that now has over 30 people in its administration that used to work for a television network that had to pay almost $800 million in fines for having lied. They lied about the last election. They had to pay $800 million in fines for lying. And now you've employed 30 people from that network, including your Secretary of Defense, who became a Secretary of War.
Yep. Well, the news network got rid of their liars.
Well, I guess so. Yeah. There you go. No, they still have.
Things are looking up.
No, they still have plenty. There were no shortage of liars at Fox.
Who was it in the former Soviet government that said that Americans have the best propaganda? Where that's what we're jealous of, is Americans have the best.
Yeah,
propaganda.
They do. Well, America does have much better propaganda than Russia. No, I mean not even close in terms of propaganda. Although Marxists are best at it. Overall today, this is I just get so tired of hearing that Israel has murdered children in Gaza. There are no innocent children in Gaza. There are none. This is a scene that took place. These are all children. They're screaming and dancing and hollering and celebrating. This is the scene where the 2 babies, the Bilbis babies, were brought in coffins. They're celebrating the death of 2 infants. These are the future jihadists. I mean, a child in Gaza, a Muslim child in Gaza, is nothing but a baby version of that. You know, a baby viper is a viper. It will not grow up to be anything other than a viper. And so all you're doing, if you eliminate one of them, is you're forestalling the next Islamic terrorist. There isn't one of them that isn't going to grow up, being allowed to grow up, that won't become an Islamic terrorist. And if you don't know what Islam is about or why this occurs, then shed your goddamn ignorance. Go to read goddamn religion. It's all free at yahowah.com. It'll even talk to you so you don't have to read the book. But this is the nature of Islam. It corrupts all the way down to 1 and 2 years old.
Yeah, they're either jihadi making factories or they are jihadis themselves.
That is correct. That is all that is there. There is no brain surgeon. There is no scholar that's going to emerge from that. There's no scientific discovery that's going to be made by one of those children.
Mm-mm.
They will be terrorists. They will live to die.
And the Muslims that live around them know this. They don't want them either.
That is correct.
Want them either.
Yeah, it's possible to be a bad Muslim and be a decent person, but you cannot be a good Muslim and be a decent person.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's just a fact. Read the Quran and you'll know that that is a statement of fact.
No.
Yeah, kill the Jews, kill the Jews. Look at this. I mean, it's the same thing. Just over and over again. They are nothing but bomb makers. Those are Islamic bomb makers. And for you to view them as anything else says that you have lost your moral compass. We will subject them to torture. Allah, Allah. We will kill them for Allah.
Glorious.
Alaska Mosque. Alaska Mosque.
Well,
I know the
why.
first thing I would have done if I had been in charge of Israel is after the Alaska flood of 10/7, I would have destroyed Alaska Mosque and the Dome of the Rock. I'm taking them both down that day.
Yeah, those would have been
They will no
effective,
longer
productive
exist.
strategies. Yeah.
Yeah. You don't like what we did, then don't terrorize us anymore.
Yeah.
Because, oh, by the way, the next thing we're going to take down is your Kaaba. So
How much cheaper would that be than raising Gaza,
Gaza, much.
attacking Lebanon? Take out
Much.
those two scars.
Yeah, you want to blame somebody for the destruction of Alaska Mosque? Go deal with the Fakistinians over here in Gaza. You've got them in a cage, so you can go deal with them. This is the witch. That is a mass murderer. Smiling while signing an order to murder babies.
Mm-hmm. Cheering it.
She is a Marxist, so she would love to blame Israel for killing babies, and she signed an order that will kill thousands and thousands of babies. Disgusting.
Man just has literally zero good judgment. As we're just going through this, scrolling through all this, there is no judgment. Their judgment is so poor, and it's such a prerequisite to being in the covenant and to interfacing with Yahowah. He doesn't want to deal with people with horrible judgment.
No.
And yet this is what you have from the youngest to the oldest. There's just no good judgment out there whatsoever.
No. That's why God has to eliminate all but 1 in a million to go forward.
Only solution. You cannot repair it.
You can't. No, this
it doesn't
cannot
have
be
a
repaired.
workaround.
No, they're proud of being evil. And God just says
Correct.
that, I regret having created humanity because humans are evil every day, all day. And that is the only thing that they can think of is what can they do that is disgusting. And this is the story of humanity. Yeah. Congratulations. You should smile. Think too that this is in Massachusetts. Massachusetts used to be so overwhelmingly Roman Catholic that if you were not a Roman Catholic advocate, you could have no chance of prevailing in politics in Massachusetts. And now look, they're signing a abortion bill right up to the point of birth. And you know how you do this? I think I had one of the slides. You actually, it's lethal injection, just as you would kill a person in a for if you're trying to assassinate them after being executed for some heinous crime. Except the injection isn't put into an arm or a vein. They take the needle and they put it right into the heart of the unborn child, and they kill the unborn child.
Yeah.
Smile.
Yeah.
You're a murderer. And you forfeited your female card. At the time that this happened 50 years ago, when the Muslims invaded the Lebanese Christian town, and they killed so many, hundreds, 582 people. At that point, the myth of Palestinian was only 10 years old. Didn't take them very long to become mass murderers, did it? And yet here they, 10 years into the birth of the myth of a Palestinian, they go off and kill 582 Christians in Lebanon, which is the Palestinian, Fakistinian presence in Lebanon, of course, has been disastrous. It was disastrous also in Jordan. That even after doing that, you've got the Marxists and the Muslims rallying around them, calling them the ones who are being oppressed.
Yeah.
They're ruthless murderers because of their religion.
They were slaughtering everyone, men, women, and children. Men were lined up against the walls and gunned down. Women were tortured and gang raped. Babies were shot in the back of the head. Pregnant women had their babies cut out. Was this 10-7?
Their womb.
Yeah.
Was this,
Yes,
was this 10?
This is, well, this happened on 10/7. This happened to Christians in Lebanon 50 years ago. This was 10 years after the birth of the lie of Palestinians.
Mm-hmm.
This is how they demonstrated who they were. Scum. What a disgusting religion. Here they are again. They've got little Muslim boys dressed up as rabbis so that they can take their guns and shoot them and throw things at them. And there's a Jewish couple there with their baby. They're showing them too. And the whole idea is shoot them, kill them, knife them, throw rocks at them.
Mm-hmm.
This is what they're teaching these. Look at that. See?
This is what they celebrate, death.
They're celebrating the abuse of life, of humanity. I mean, this is wholly and completely a subhuman culture.
It's right on par for the Nobel Committee, though. It says in Italy they are actually discussing the proposal to award the Nobel Prize.
Yeah, a picture of the Dome of the Rock in the background. I'm going to have a field day tearing that piece of shit down.
Mm.
Yep.
Islam is a great plague on the world, and it has been from its beginning. And I would encourage you to read the 5 volumes of Goddamn Religion. They're all free at yahowah.com to understand how vile the conception of Islam has been and continues to be. There is no cure for it. It's fatal. So yeah, this is the bombing of Saudi Arabia by the Houthis. So I say, hey, Erdogan, you're gonna go and bomb the Houthis? Are you Pakistanis? You're gonna go and nuke them? What are you gonna do? You signed your big deal. I mean, the ink's not even dry. It's not even 2 days old. What are you gonna go do, huh, boys? Or are you just gonna be wimps again? Boy, I tell you what, are Sunni Muslims ever showing Sunni Muslims who's boss? Yikes.
They're just waiting for the right time to strike.
Oh, yeah, right time. Yeah, okay. Mm-hmm. if they can find, they can bribe somebody to go fight for them.
Yada. You just got to give them some time.
Yeah. So this is part of the new deal with the Trump tush talkers. They're at Fox. They're celebrating this now. That so we don't want to admit having lost the war. We don't want to admit that Trump failed miserably. We're just going to say that it was the Secretary of Treasury, Bessent, that destroyed the Iran. Now, you want to listen to that guy talk. He is an absolute dunderhead. I mean, I don't think he has a functioning brain. I mean, his IQ has to be subterranean. And now they want to claim, oh, yeah, he's the great victor. He won the war. Mm-hmm. So you've signed a memorandum of understanding that transfers $350 billion to them, and they're now under a scheme where they're going to collect $125 billion annually for the passage of the Strait of Hormuz. And you want to claim that it's your Treasury guy that won this war? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Sure.
Oh, this just gets insane. Do you want to watch this one? Because he's talking about the Iranians admitting during their negotiations how they're terrified of him. I mean, it's insane.
It's insane
what they're saying.
And there are no negotiations.
There's no negotiations.
I mean, there literally are no negotiations. There haven't been any negotiations since Trump violated the memorandum of understanding. And
Trump
Iran has an official position that said that we will not talk to Trump under any circumstance. There will be no discussions, no negotiations, no nothing. Time is our friend here. He's got nothing going, so we're never going to. So they're imagining these discussions. Mm. Yeah, you can play it. Sure, it's hilarious.
Is confabulation contagious?
I guess it must be. The Trump tush talkers
Operation Economic
have nothing but shit.
Yeah.
Fury, led by Secretary Scott Bessent, is devastating the Iranian economy. And I say this jokingly, but seriously as well. The Iranians are more afraid of Secretary Bessent than they are of Secretary Hegseth right now. When they're coming to the table to our negotiators, they are talking about cash, 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 because they'll absorb the bombings. They don't care about their military. They don't care about their soldiers or even the Iranian people after they massacred 40,000 of them. But what are they worried about?
Oh,
they're worried
bullshit.
about that their currency is tanking.
God. Fuck you. Oh, what a piece of shit. Oh, I mean, it's like I'm going to lie and I'm going to continue to repeat the lie because I understand how propaganda works. That if I lie and I repeat the lie, the people I'm lying to will believe me, and I can make money or have prestige because you believe my lies. It is pure propagandist bullshit. There isn't a single thing that man said that's true. And the opposite of what he said is absolutely true. What a piece of crap we have now for a government and these people presenting themselves as journalists. You're a piece of shit, pal.
Yeah, the Iranians want cash, cash, cash. All their transactions in oil are in yen or yuan, right?
Oh, by the way, it's America that put the sanctions on them. It's America that stole their cash. And you're just talking about I'm going to pat myself on the back for being a thief. Mm-hmm. And telling, can you believe it? Those people that we stole the money from, they want their money back. Can you believe that? Huh? How dare they? That shows that we must have been very effective thieves if they're asking for their money back. What scum we have become.
It's like WWF wrestling. We have all these ridiculous characters.
Yes, that is exactly what it is.
Yeah, this is what late-term abortion looks like. This is exactly what they do. They have a picture of the fetus, and they put a needle right into its heart and kill it. Oh boy, talk about disgust. So here's Vladimir Putin. He is saying, on what pretext did they bomb Yugoslavia or Czechoslovakia, Iraq, Syria, Libya? Where's the UN Security Council sanction and approval to go do this? No, they simply decided to do so, and they did it. That's the essence of the way that they interpret now international law. And when he said that, the first thing I said, wait a minute, the Bush administration, everybody says, oh no, the difference between Bush and Trump is that Bush went to the United Nations and got a approval to invade and attack Iraq. No, he didn't.
He had a coalition, a NATO coalition, and that's all.
Yeah, he got a coalition that he put together, but he did not get UN sanction to do it. He tried to get UN sanction to do it, and the UN said, no, we're not going to sanction to do that. There's no justification for what you're trying to do. This is a very bad idea. And so he failed on getting a UN sanction to do it and went in anyway. And so what Russia's saying is the United States operates as if it's above the law.
And it does.
And it does. Oh, yeah. So here's the dumpster. And what's so amazing about this is that you got Fox News saying, yay, wow, isn't this great that Trump is demanding compensation from Iran and he has turned the tides. He has completely reversed this whole thing on them rather than America having to pay reparations to Iran. Now we're going to get them from Iran and we're going to reward those people who lost their lives.
Welcome to Never Never Land.
Good God, who's he? You actually think he's having this discussion with the Iranians?
Didn't Trump just say he's low-keying it or something like that?
There are no discussions with the.
They're not talking.
No, all this is a Truth Social tweet. That's all you got here. And oh, by the way, the Iranians don't do roadside bombs. That's not their thing.
Mm-hmm.
And 52,000 that they killed of their own people versus the 40,000 that Trump tush talkers talked about. It's 4,000. And the reason they killed them is that you armed them and you put them up to it. You actually ran a scam using the Kurds to arm those who were in the protests in Iran that were gunned down. And there were 4,000 of them. And you were the reason they were killed. It wasn't 52,000. It wasn't even 40,000, wasn't 30,000, wasn't 20,000, wasn't 10,000, wasn't even 5,000. It's all a goddamn lie by somebody who is a goddamn liar.
It just
and
goes
you
to
have
show
absolutely no influence on them not having a nuclear weapon, and you just admitted it 2 days ago that you want to leave and are going to void the condition of nuclear discussion. So you can't have it both ways, even if you write it in caps, asshole. Good God, what's wrong with Fox?
And he wants compensation to boot, the cherry on top.
Yeah, I want compensation.
No. It's new because he doesn't have a thought in his head that is his own, but when Iran says, hey, we're going to charge people for the Strait of Hormuz, what's he says? We're going to charge people for the Strait of Hormuz, right?
They want reparations. Okay, we're going to get reparations too, and our reparations will offset each other.
Exactly.
Yeah. If they think it's a good idea, I think it's a good idea. They ask for reparations, so I'm going to ask for reparations too because I'm such a negotiator.
It is like a 5-year-old. I mean,
it's like a 5-year-old.
He's like a reactive idiot. He just they say we're going to do this, and he says, "No, I'm going to do that to you." And it's like there's no strategy, no forethought, nothing. He just reacts like a child to what you say.
Yeah, he's already signed an agreement agreeing to give them $300 billion in reparations, and it doesn't have any mention of them providing reparations to anybody else. You've already negotiated it. You've already signed it. And now you're going to have this piece of shit on a tweet and you're president of the United States and you're going to have Fox applaud it. You signed an agreement guaranteeing that you're going to give them $300 billion plus release the $25 billion in stolen assets, plus allow them to control the Straits of Hormuz. That's what you said you were going to do. You know how put it in writing. Works? You signed it. And now, after having signed and negotiated the agreement and legitimized it, you want to negotiate again after you violated the agreement?
Yeah.
What the hell is wrong with America, with Fox, with this piece of shit that's president? It's just amazing that we're in
So we
this
have a
kind
deal
of
maker who
situation.
doesn't understand the nature of a deal.
Yeah, right.
Doesn't understand
You
how
do.
deals work.
Well, integrity means nothing to him.
No.
Yeah, the only deals he does are strong arm.
Mm-hmm.
The ones you
Tis,
can't refuse.
tempest in a teapot. He doesn't have a strong arm. He's a bratty kid in a sandbox that's poops in his pants and is throwing his shit on everybody else. That's who he is. He's Satan.
This is pretty good. This is, you got to admit,
Yeah,
you got to be quick to
I
follow
didn't
it.
see
But
this
it's
one. What is
This is actually really good. You got to listen.
Not sure why we're all still having trouble with this. Let's try it again from the top. This is a victory for the U.S. because our goal from day one was for Iran to open the strait that didn't close till after we attacked, which was completely controlled by their military we had total dominance over. And it was a waterway that we could have taken over, but instead asked for help that we didn't need, but we'll remember that our allies did not give us. All because of the negotiating power of a FIFA Peace Prize recipient's threat to annihilate a civilization in order to liberate them from a regime that changed, which was not our goal, but we will take credit for, from an old man who hates us to his younger son who hates us for those reasons and that we killed his father. And while it is not clear the status of Iran's nuclear capabilities that we obliterated last year, but we're going to be a problem in 2 weeks, one thing is for sure. They now have more money and control of the strait than they had when they made the old deal that we ended because it was terrible. Now, I think that is enough about authoritarian propagandistic regimes. Does anybody have any questions about the Trump Library golden statue? Not sure why we're all still having trouble with that.
Give this guy the Nobel Peace Prize. That guy just summarized how I have felt about this whole situation, trying to evaluate it and get my arms around it. This guy masterfully just described what we've dealt with over the last year and a half.
I swear,
with
Elia
Trump
made
and Iran.
a guest appearance.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's absolutely.
What don't you understand, people? What don't you understand?
What don't you understand of this? His delivery, his cadence, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
Oh,
wonderful.
it's a beautifully scripted piece. That's one of the highlights of social media right there. All right. Well, this is the Satan and the devil. It's hard to even imagine that Todd Blanche would get Senate approval. Only one Republican voted against it, and now Trump is trying to destroy that woman, one senator. And Todd Blanche is the guy that represented Trump and the Stormy Daniels pay a prostitute so that she won't acknowledge that you paid her for sex. So you want to pay the prostitute that you had sex with, and who is an ugly damn prostitute, and you think it might hurt your campaign. So you have your fixer, Cohen, attorney Cohen, bribe her to stay quiet. And you're not smart enough to know that if you bribe somebody not to release information that could be damaging to your candidacy in the immediate proximity to a national election, that you've committed a felony.
Mm-hmm.
And he has Cohen, who should be smart enough to know that, pay the bribe. And then Trump abandons the lawyer and starts to condemn the lawyer. And the lawyer is the one that goes to jail, not Trump. And Trump receives 34 felony convictions on election fraud. And he's convicted of election fraud.
Mm-hmm.
And yet he's elected. And the guy that represented him is the guy whose hand is on the Bible and is swearing the oath. And he is the guy who also represented Trump on the stolen documents in Mar-a-Lago, and was going to represent Trump on what he would have absolutely gone to jail for, which is the case on January 6th and conspiracy and treason. And This is the guy that will absolutely assure that any file that incriminates Donald Trump of the Epstein collection will be destroyed. It's not that they won't be released, they will be destroyed. You don't get to be more reprehensible than Blanche unless you're Trump himself.
Oh, and now at the head of the Justice Department is now in a position to go after people that to settle some scores.
Yes, he is.
Judges in New York, judges
correct.
in
correct.
D.C., judges in
Correct.
Georgia. Mm-hmm.
The Trump revenge tour.
Yeah.
Part two.
Part two. Yeah, part two. Satan is a mean one.
Yeah.
You ever know that Satan would be that mean or that revolting? But he is, or that Republicans could be the scum of the earth because they all but one voted on behalf of this man for that position. So you don't have a moral person other than this one woman in the Republican Party that's a senator, not one.
Shocker.
And, the Democrat side's worse. They're Marxists. So this is an interesting technical. Now, this is not funny, but it is highly revealing. This is the head of the criminal court, International Criminal Court. And while all the posts on X say that the International Criminal Court has found Israel guilty of committing genocide in Gaza, she is saying that is not true. We did not. We had Gazans say that there was the potential for genocide and that their case needed to be heard because there was the potential of genocide. And we heard the Israelis say, we have not, and we're not going to perpetrate genocide, and our position needs to be heard. And all we did was agreed to hear why the Gazans thought that there was the potential for genocide and why the Israelis thought there was no potential for genocide. We did not find that Israel had committed genocide. Therefore, all of those posts that say Israel, the International Criminal Court has found that Israel has committed genocide. She says, "I'm glad you asked me that question because I want to correct the record because that what's being said is not true." And she's head of the International Criminal Court.
Page 11, right behind the want ads.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I was going to say,
Page 11.
nobody's going to see this, or this isn't going to move anything. It means nothing.
No, of course, but it's important that we know the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's important that we share the truth when we see it. It's important that we know the lies and that we expose and condemn the lies when we see it.
And I
we
give her credit
realize
for
that everything we do is not going to move the needle either.
Right.
But it doesn't mean that we give up.
No, she still did the right thing. Yeah.
Yes.
Agreed.
There it is. This is the signing ceremony of we're going to kill a bunch of babies. We're so excited. We're mothers killing babies.
It's wonderful, right?
Yeah.
Room full of
Yay,
women.
mothers killing babies. Oh, isn't that so sweet? Oh, God, we're going to kill some babies now. Yeah, isn't this great? Mass murder of babies.
Advancing the cause of
we're
women
the new
everywhere.
mothers. Yeah. Mothers everywhere and mass killing of babies. Reprehensible. This is amazing. This is flat. I'm just glad we got to this. What I want to give just some background. What I have said now for the really quarter century that I've been about this is that it was the United States that rented the Taliban from the Pakistani government. And the Taliban was as much as part of the Pakistani government as the Marines are part of the U.S. military. The U.S. went to Pakistan and asked to rent the Taliban to arm the Taliban to go kill Russians with U.S. weapons in Afghanistan. And to do that, the Pakistanis said, well, we need money. and we need weapons. So, and it was a military government. You give us more weapons and you give us more money, we'll rent the Taliban to you. And so we made a bigger mess in Pakistan. That's why Pakistanis will pretend that Trump is a great guy, because of the fact that they're routinely bribed by the United States to be bad. They rented the Taliban, but the Taliban did not have enough jihadists to inflict the kind of damage that Zbigniew Brzezinski and Jimmy Carter wanted to inflict on the Russians. So the plan was to create a database of additional jihadists. An Arabic database is Al-Qaeda. And so the CIA created Al-Qaeda after funneling hundreds of millions of dollars of weapons, particularly Stinger weapons, shoulder-mounted anti-aircraft weapons, into Afghanistan. And we armed Al-Qaeda, we armed the Taliban. At that point, the Taliban decided to stay after the war. It brought down the Soviet Union by killing a lot of Russians. And we, after the war, the Taliban stayed. They were only able to occupy about 20% of Afghanistan until America invaded under Bush, and then we gave the entirety of Afghanistan to the Taliban. And then when Saddam Hussein, who was the best dictator in the Islamic world, that make him a good guy, just the best dictator in the Islamic world. He and Muammar Gaddafi were the only two non-crazy Islamic dictators. They were Ba'athists. And when he decided to invade Kuwait and was headed to Saudi Arabia, would have been the best thing could have happened to America and the world, to have a secular dictator in that part of the world take over those two very religious countries that were sponsoring fundamentalist Islamic mosques around the world. Osama bin Laden, who was then the chief recruiter for Al-Qaeda, the CIA's Al-Qaeda, went to the royal family, of which they were very close to, because bin Laden's father was the primary builder of mosques and of major airport facilities in Saudi Arabia. And he said, we just beat the Russians. We just beat the Russians. If we can beat the Russians, we sure as hell can drive back the Iraqis. We want to defend the holy lands of Islam. And so deploy us and we will defeat Saddam Hussein and the Iraqis. Same time, George Bush went to them. And he said, no, let Americans do it. That's part of the petrodollar deal. America's here to protect your interests, scum as you are, but we're here to protect your interest, even though Saddam Hussein has been an ally of the United States, and we're the one that armed him so that he could go kill Iranians previously. We'll defend Saudi Arabia, and we'll shed American blood defending Saudi Arabia and Kuwait so that you don't have to deal with the Al-Qaeda that we created. Full force of the U.S. military to defend Saudi Arabia and Kuwait. Yeah. And by the way, before we do it, both of us will go buy defense company stocks, because they're going to skyrocket in price. We'll make a fortune doing this. This is a much better scheme for you and me. And so the Sauds decided they would go with a money-making scheme and let American boys die, protecting Saudi Arabia and Kuwait. And bin Laden, on behalf of the fundamentalist Muslims that were part of the CIA's Al-Qaeda, got pissed. 9/11 is the result. We created that mess. And we created the mess of ISIS following them. The CIA has made this mess. Now, when she will give this testimony, she will admit that we created the mess. Now, she will claim that it was during the Reagan administration. Zbigniew Brzezinski is in this film. Zygmunt Brzezinski is the one who came up with this scheme and who went to Afghanistan to deliver the weapons and the victory speech. Zygmunt Brzezinski worked for Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter preceded Ronald Reagan. So she is lying, and she knows she's lying. But the rest of it's reasonably true. Cause and consequence. America is the cause of the Islamic terrorism that America went in to rebuff and that lost tens of thousands of American lives, 1 million other lives, and changed the world forever now with the migration of Muslims out of those countries. This is all a direct result of cause and consequence. So let's play this.
We also have a history of kind of moving in and out of Pakistan. I mean, let's remember here, the people we are fighting today, we funded 20 years ago. And we did it because we were locked in this struggle with the Soviet Union. They invaded Afghanistan, and we did not want to see them control Central Asia. And we went to work. And it was President Reagan, in partnership with the Congress, led by Democrats, who said, you know what, sounds like a pretty good idea. Let's deal with the ISI and the Pakistani military, and let's go recruit these mujahideen. And let's get some to come from Saudi Arabia and other places, importing their Wahhabi brand of Islam so that we can go beat the Soviet Union. And guess what? They retreated. They lost billions of dollars, and it led to the collapse of the Soviet Union. So there's a very strong argument, which wasn't a bad investment to end the Soviet Union, but let's be careful what we sow because we will harvest. So we then left Pakistan. We said, okay, fine. You deal with the stingers that we've left all over your country. You deal with the mines that are along the border. And by the way, we don't want to have anything to do with you. In fact, we're sanctioning you. So we stopped dealing with the Pakistani military and with ISI, and we now are making up for a lot of lost time.
You know, that land over there is yours. You'll go back to it one day because your fight will prevail and you'll have your homes and your mosques back again because your cause is right and God is on your side.
In the 4 years since the inspectors left, intelligence reports show that Saddam Hussein has worked to rebuild his chemical and biological weapons stock, his missile delivery capability, and his nuclear program. He has also given aid, comfort, and sanctuary to terrorists, including Al-Qaeda members. It is clear, however, that if left unchecked, Saddam Hussein will continue to increase his capacity to wage biological and chemical warfare and will keep trying to develop nuclear weapons. Should he succeed in that endeavor, he could alter the political and security landscape of the Middle East, which, as we know all too well, affects American security. This is a very difficult vote. This is probably the hardest decision I've ever had to make. Any vote that might lead to war should be hard, but I cast it with conviction.
Every word of her speech was a lie. There was no nuclear program. There were no weapons of mass destruction. The chemical and biological weapons that he once had were given to him by the United States to attack Iran, and they had been destroyed. There was no Al-Qaeda in Iraq. He hated Al-Qaeda. That's the reason why Al-Qaeda volunteered to go attack him. Every fucking word that bitch said in the call for war was untrue. And yet America killed 1 million people between Afghanistan and Iraq and lost over 10,000 American soldiers bleeding to make a bad situation worse. How do they sleep at night? Every word that she said was a lie. In America, you eat this shit up.
Yeah. Politicians do it so effortlessly. She's so polished, sounds so bright.
As God said, I regret creating humans.
Yeah.
It was a terrible mistake. Just sick. It's absolutely revolting what we have become. And what America represents. Yeah, this
Flip the script.
This was yesterday in the Oval Office. I only fell asleep a bunch of times, and the little girl behind him looks like she's a robot. He just, here's again, it's Eric Dougherty, who is the most vile of, not the most vile, that's because we ran into the most vile of them yesterday, but he is among the most moronic of all of the MAGAs. He says, wow, President Trump just flipped the script on Iran. The mullahs demand reparations from him. Now 47 is demanding massive compensation from the regime for their atrocities against America and humanity.
And I'm sure we'll be seeing it pretty soon.
Isn't talking to anybody. He signed a memorandum of agreement. He negotiated it. He signed it, and then he renounced it. They will never listen to him again. They will never talk to him again. He didn't turn the tables on anybody other than your stupidity. By the way, in this meeting, I don't know if you noticed it, and I may not have posted the right clip for it, but in this meeting, RFK, who's Health and Human Services, he already can't talk because he has a degenerative disease that has, it's a brain disorder that has affected his throat and his ability to speak. But now he is, I don't know if it's Parkinson's or if he's back on the white powder or what it is, but that man is no longer fit for cameras and public service. I have never liked him because he's an idiot as a conspiratorialist and a anti-vaxxer. This, by the way, was to sign a executive order changing vaccines so that if you are a religious parent and you don't want your child protected by vaccines, you don't have to, which makes your child now not only susceptible to those diseases that were so deadly, but it also makes other children susceptible to them. Mm-hmm. And they're celebrating this on behalf of a man who's anti-vax and or pro-conspiracy, who is near death himself.
Yeah, this is how you get more polio, more smallpox, more tuberculosis. I mean, this is it's hard.
Things that vaccines are eradicated, and this is how you get more of them. Mm-hmm. Because you lie and you create conspiracies, and your followers are such idiots they believe in lies and conspiracies. And in the midst of all of that, then he gains popularity amongst the morons by saying that he's turned the table on the Iranians after he's already negotiated the deal, after he's already signed the deal, after he's already violated the deal that gave them $350 billion worth of their money back in reparations. And now he wants to negotiate for reparations for the United States that attacked Iran twice. Yeah. It's the only thing I can say is that when we went out on the limb to announce that Trump was Satan, based upon what the prophets had said, it didn't seem credible that that the president that we knew, even though he's an egomaniac at Trump 45, could be vile enough to be Satan, or that this man, as sickly as he is, would live another 7 years, 8 years at the time we made the determination. But every day, he proves us right. He's Satan.
No doubt about it.
So, the Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesman said that they will not open the Strait of Hormuz until the United States ends its naval blockade on the Iranian ports. Iran wants the U.S. to lift the blockade. And then it goes on and lists every other thing that is in the memorandum of understanding. War reparations, lifting of the freezed assets, no more aggression anywhere in the Islamic world by the U.S. or by Israel. And control of the straits remains in the hands of the Iranians. They haven't backed away one iota from the memorandum of understanding. And since that time, America's run out of weapons and run out of credibility. And so the calendar favors the Iranians, and they, if anything, are going to be tougher, not easier. But the bottom line is the Iranians aren't going to negotiate anymore, not with Trump. So it's either you go back to the memorandum of understanding and beg them to accept those terms that you have violated, or nothing. Because you can leave, you can declare victory and leave, but it doesn't change the nature of the strait or the fact that you have no more bases in the region or you have no more credibility in the region, and you destroy the petrodollar. Yeah, those clowns on Fox talking about Besant and the Treasury winning the war, and he's literally bankrupt the United States.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
So, Iran's brilliant move: keep the clown out and mute him. In the meantime, remember when I said a couple days ago that the right response to Trump was for the media just to turn around and leave, drop the microphones, drop the cameras, just turn around and walk out of the building. If you did that, it would drive him nuts. It would a psychopath. They feed off of that energy, and you'd walk away from him and ignore him. It would be the single hardest thing that he could endure, and he would go ballistic. The Iranians are now doing that to him. The Iranians are their official position that was announced yesterday in the Iranian parliament is that we will completely ignore Donald Trump. We will not negotiate with America until after, not the midterms, after the next election cycle.
The Iranians completely own Donald J. Trump.
Yes.
They own this guy lock, stock, and barrel. They're making him look like an idiot. He contradicts them. He contradicts himself.
Yep.
I've never seen America just be taken down so many pegs on the international stage. I've been around since I was born in '67. I've been around a little bit, but we're a joke, and we're led by a joke. This is stunning.
It's not a joke.
This
it's
whole
a nightmare.
thing.
Yeah,
it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare.
America is led by Satan. But you see that closed speaker, that sign for "Do not enter" and then that speaker. That's exactly the strategy that I said is the only effective strategy you can use against a psychopath. You know, with a psychopath, you only have three options. Option one is to confront them and to reveal that they are lying. Option two is to agree with them and try to work from the inside by showing that you have sympathy with their cause. And option three is to gray rock them, completely mute them and ignore them. And of those three, all of them have bad consequences. But overwhelmingly, the least bad consequences come from three, ignoring them.
It's the least amount of energy, too. Oh,
well, it's the least amount of energy, but it has the by far the least damaging consequence is number three. Cause and consequence. When you confront them, they dig in and they go way crazier. They sense, okay, I'm prevailing, and they double down, triple down, quadruple down. So you can never agree with them. Besides that, you'd have no morality if you do. And if you you can't agree with them, because that's what that would happen. You'd have to forfeit your morality and be drawn into the mess that you'd be equally deceased. And when you do that, they know they own you, and they will just get worse. And if you try to confront them, Trump goes into killer mode. He is the Hannibal Lecter of politicians. And it becomes more and more vicious the more he is confronted. Like when the reporter said about the Epstein files the other day, Mr. President, can we expect any additional releases of the Epstein files? And the way he responded to that woman was vile. So you can't confront him. You can't agree with him. And so the only thing you can do is to mute him. That would be the one thing that the media could do that would have the greatest negative effect on him, and diminishing the near-term consequences of his actions, is to completely mute him. And that's the strategy that Iran has now taken. They have muted him. So here, the dumpster says, we're fine with munitions. But should we not have been fine with munitions? Even though we're fine with munitions. But should it have been true that we're not fine with munitions? The reason we're not fine with munitions, but we are fine, even though if we were not fine, the reason we would not be fine is because it was Biden. Biden did it. Biden gave those damn Ukrainians $300 billion worth of our weapons. And that's the reason why we don't have enough. I mean, we have enough weapons, but if we didn't have enough weapons, that would be the reason we didn't have them.
By the way, I sold some weapons too, but I sold them.
$50 billion, not $300 billion. And only about half of it was weapons. So it's about $25 billion worth of weapons versus $300 billion worth of weapons. He's off by a magnitude of 10. Mm-hmm. And if at this point the dumpster can't overcome what he blames on Biden 2 years into his term, what's the purpose of being there? Mm-hmm. But it's the nature of every psychopath. They blame everybody except themselves. They never are personally accountable for anything. And this was just a joke. You know, if we didn't have those weapons, it's because Biden gave them away, but it's not true that we don't have them. So he must not have given them away, even though I'm blaming him for giving them away. Because if we didn't have them, that would be because he gave them away, even though we have them. So he couldn't have given them away. So I don't know why I'm telling you he gave them away, but nevertheless I am.
Yeah, but they say those munition shortages were, you're supposed to, while Russia and China, keep their stockpiles and they slowly over time build them. We had other political considerations and we just haven't kept the supplies up, and we go to war more than anybody else. So we use the weapons that we create. We don't keep on schedule because of other political considerations. And I'm not advocating for more weapons, but I'm just saying the whole rationale for how we got here really has nothing to do with Biden.
Of course, the biggest problem is that America doesn't make anything anymore. We just don't.
Correct. Yes, and that's at the heart of it. Yeah.
Yeah, the heart of it is we can't make anything anymore. If you can't make anything anymore, you can't go to war with anybody. So you might as well just give up on this idea of America is going to war, because we don't make stuff. And if you don't make stuff, you can't go to war. It was the great cause and consequence of sanctioning Russia. By stealing Russia's $300 billion in sovereign assets, America proved that the U.S. dollar was not a safe reserve currency, and the world started moving away from the dollar as a reserve currency, and devastating to the United States. That was one of the dumbest moves ever in terms of cause and consequence. And you can lay that one on Biden. Now, going forward from that stupid move, when we sanctioned Russia, what we did is create a completely independent Russia, because we sanctioned them, then we went to war with them. And so what Russia did is they learned how to make everything themselves. They have a war footing economy now that can make weapons and drones and missiles and inventions and everything else. They can conceive a new weapon and bring it to market and deploy it. and less time than Trump can talk about it. And so they have the footing to do it. And all the while, we made business impossible in America by becoming a socialist country economically, while China, as a communist country politically, became a free enterprise company or country economically. And so China now outproduces the rest of the world. One of the things too that we don't have that is essential if you want to be the bully, we don't have transport. Ships are the transport. Now China makes the majority of ships. And in fact, in order capacity going forward, there's like a 90% share of shipping is controlled by the Chinese. Wow. So they have the transport. They're building ships faster. I mean, America doesn't build anything now in terms of ships. That the next aircraft carrier is probably 10 years away. It never get splashed. And the one that they splashed previous to it is in a 2 to 3 year timeout for potty checks. We don't make anything that works. Nothing. We're just, I don't even say a paper tiger because there's no tiger.
Yeah.
We make light ammunition. And what do you use light ammunition for?
Yeah.
Against the American
a
people.
war with the American people.
Yep. That's about it.
Yeah, we make light arms. But we don't even make that well anymore. We're
a shell. Yeah.
We're a shell. We're just an absolute joke. And poop pants here is Satan.
He's told you what he's going to do. There's not going to be an election in 2020.
No, there's not going to be one. He's going to name himself Trump 48, but not because there's an election. There'll be a war in America.
Mm-hmm.
Economic collapse. Yay, MAGA. Make America great again.
This guy.
This is a more thorough analysis. We can end with this position. This is Papagan. He is, as I say, even though he is as exciting as your mother's bathroom wallpaper, he does stay to the facts. It's nice to hear somebody else collaborate. What I'm trying to convey is the truth about what's going on in Iran. He is a very credible voice that conveys exactly the same message. And he's one that I have not heard yet blame Israel. So you got to give him credit for that. So there's the one person we can actually listen to that knows what's going on, that isn't, at least on the surface, an anti-Semite. Maybe you give him a little more time and he'll come around to that position. He's at the University of Chicago, which is Mearsheimer's university, I think, as well. And Mearsheimer's gone full rogue anti-Semite. But this is worth listening to.
Iran's just not sitting back and doing nothing. Iran is shaping things. Now, one of the ways it's shaping is it is continuing to shut down oil and other minerals and other energy from the Gulf through Hormuz, unless it's headed to China.
Oh, it was a lot more to it than that. I don't know what happened to it. This ad came up, but the ad then went away, and he went and
okay.
Iran's just not sitting back.
The clip is 28 seconds long, so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to it. Yeah, the whole clip was quite long before, but I guess you only get part of it. Thank you very much, Gronk. I listened to the whole thing, but it is saying that that Iran has put itself in a position now where they have no incentive to ever speak to Donald Trump again. They control the Strait of Hormuz. There's no way to change that. They have run the United States out of the Middle East because they've destroyed the U.S. bases. Because of the fact that they now have the Houthis working for them on the other side in the Red Sea, the world is headed towards economic catastrophe, and there's nothing that can be done to stop that. And that in this process, Iran has gone from the weakest of the Middle Eastern nations to the strongest of them. And America has lost all impetus for the petrodollar, and therefore is a beggar on the world stage. And no solution for any of this. And, we're in the time of trouble. America crumbles. But America takes the world down with it as it crumbles, particularly Israel. So that's where we are, my friend. It is a nasty, ugly world out there, and it's going to get far, far worse. And sadly, Israel has brought doom upon itself on the way that it has positioned itself. I wish it were not true, but that's where we are. And the best we can do is warn people about it, to tell people that your religion has lied to you, your politicians have lied to you. God regrets even having created humans. That's how despicable we have been and continue to be. And that we're in the death zone now. The next 7 years is going to be catastrophic, and there's only one way out. Yahowah. Go to yahowah.com, and you will find the one way out alive from this planet.
Yep.
Listen, learn,
live.
Hey, we thought we were going to have some sound effects there.
Yeah, Kevin, you can't have the button. Yeah, I get the button.
We didn't have a
next week. I get the
row or any sound effects. I guess
it was a little tough,
a little serious all the way through, huh?
Yeah.
We covered a lot of territory, so I'm glad we did that. And to go back and look at the malfeasance and the lives of the United States, going back to the Iraq and Afghanistan wars and how that led. What we did even before that led to 9/11 and led to the immigration to Europe with bringing the plague of Islam with the migration out of Islamic countries, setting up the world for the disaster it's in. I think it was absolutely worth doing. I hope people listen and they recognize that politicians are universally lying to them. And their religion is based on lies. I don't care which one it is. They're all based on lies. They have nothing to do with God. And that there really is a God. And he has expectations. And he is offering something really extraordinary. But you have to meet his expectations. And that's not happened with more than 1 in a million people. And you say, well, if it's 1 in a million people, then it can't be true because it's not popular. Oh, on the contrary. God is saying quite simply that when there's lots of people are always bad. The only way that we can have a relationship, he can have a relationship with people, is for there to be very few people. So that is his message, and we are delivering it.
Yep. Excellent.
All right. So we did get a good start on our new series with
Harold.
Harold.
Yep.
Getting
Psalm
into
33.
Yeah,
was that
Psalm
what it was?
33.
Yeah. That was great.
Yeah,
I love it.
pretty interesting so far. It gets only better with that, and wait till we get to back to Isaiah. That is really extraordinary. So thank you for participating. Look forward to being with you, tomorrow, and we'll do another show on Bashar Harold later today. Good day.
Be good. Take care.
Hey there, thanks for tuning in. That was Fetch. Gotta run now. Catch y'all on our next podcast.